Hey gang, how's it going? What's going on? Hey Heather, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Fantastic.
We have two guests today.
I know it. I know. Yeah, I know. But no, it's really exciting because what's cool, one thing that I really love is about building a community and true community, because there's so many things out there. And you and I have talked about this, like YouTube community. It's really not a community. It's just
kind of a one-way deal.
It is a one-way deal, but they have a great community that they have started, these two guys, and looking forward to have them on. And they're a part of our community too. So they're part of a bunch of communities. Actually, you're going to find out a lot. And some of you have heard of these guys. Some of you haven't, just because being part of the community, you will have seen them. So
the Tinkering with Tech community, you mean?
That's right.
Because these guys are there almost all the time. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so it's really exciting to introduce these two guys. These guys started, we just talked about it back in March, a really cool community to help seniors, elders, whatever you want to call it, whatever's proper to say. And I am one. I is one.
People who are trying to learn tech who are a little bit older than 30.
Exactly. That's a good way of putting it. No, that's true. So let's go ahead and invite these two guys in and let's talk to them a little bit. We're going to start with Ron Brown and then Hewie Poplock. How you guys doing?
All right. Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Wow. Yay. It's exciting. This is fun because it's kind of fun to have the shoe on the other foot, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? You guys get to be the experts. No, but you guys know a lot.
I know. They do know a lot. What's funny is we have this thing, this like tip time where, we all get together in those Zoom things and you tell us something. And then after, I have these guys around all the time and glad you're here. So now it's your turn to talk. I'll be quiet.
Yeah. First of all, just do what we always do. Where are you from? What country, city, state, all that kind of stuff. Go ahead, Ron. Why don't you start first?
Well, I live on Vancouver. Well, I live two places. First of all, my primary residence is in British Columbia on Vancouver Island. Those of you who have been on Vancouver Island, I live in a place called Comox, which is it's north of Victoria, about 150 miles north of Victoria. Community of about 80,000 people. We have a nice home on the water, and I live here, and I've lived here for, 40, 50 years. However, in the winter, we live in Mesa, Arizona. We have a house in Arizona, and we travel to Mesa, Arizona, and that's where I hang out for 6 months of the year, except for this year, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome, though.
Yeah, so that's where we hang out down there, and I do a lot of computer work down there and in here as well. So I sit in front of a computer, but at least it's warmer outside than it is here.
Awesome. I hear you. I understand. And Hewie, you may be leaving us here because you're in the middle of a hurricane, but tell us where you are.
I'm right just a few miles from the center of the hurricane.
Oh, no.
But I originally came from upstate New York, central New York and west central New York. And I was a school teacher, believe it or not. And I decided that if I stayed there one more year, I would never leave there. So I I had a small house and a couple of cars, and I sold them, and I bought a van, and I took off. I didn't know where I was going to end up or what I was going to do. But while I was in college, I tended bar at night. And when I started teaching, I was working in a college bar. So it was a lot of fun, and it was my social life as well. So when I came down here, I said, well, if I started teaching, I get stuck in one town. But if I tend bar, I can move wherever I want and so on. So I came down here to Florida, and I was in the West Palm Beach area, staying at a campground. And I met some people who actually they had just bought a house. They were waiting to move in. They invited me to rent one of the rooms. I got a job with a big chain of bars and nightclubs. I ended up staying with them for 7 years. They moved me all over the state, which I loved.
Wow.
And that was in 1970. I have been in Florida ever since. And there's a road that runs from Tampa to Daytona Beach called I-4. I don't want to be any farther north than that.
That's funny. That's good stuff, though.
Short answer, right?
And about 6 years ago, I decided that it was time to move from the Orlando area. I just about totally retired, except for just some dabbling in a few things. And I moved into the retirement community for the Fraternal Order of Eagles. And their only retirement community happens to be in Bradenton, Florida, which is just north of Sarasota and just south of Tampa. And if you've been watching the weather reports, you'll know right where I live. We've been here since. And that's another story that I got to tell you about, but I'll wait a little bit. When I say we, what the we is. So.
All right. Sounds good. Wow, that's something
crazy. So you guys are literally on opposite ends of a continent.
Just true. About as far apart as you can get.
That's kind of crazy.
And still be in the northern hemisphere, unless he moves to Alaska.
So let me tell you how we all came to be. Do you want me to tell you the story?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's sort of an interesting story. So we left about mid-March in Mesa. COVID was getting really bad, and pretty much everything shut down. So we drove home in our car, and as I drove home, the freeways were empty. Weird going through Seattle. There was nobody on the roads. Got to the Canadian border, not a soul around. And on the ferry over to Vancouver Island, hardly anybody here. So I thought about seniors being isolated. And I thought, the lockdown had occurred. And I thought, how could we help seniors like you, get a community going, right? Mm-hmm. So I had this idea of Tech for Seniors, which we would start a sort of some sort of meeting, and we'd invite seniors to help them with technology because they're going to be isolated. But I needed a co-host. So I knew Hewie from Chromebook work we did, and I sent him a link and I said, what do you think of this idea? And I wrote up the idea. And he said, that's a great idea, but I'll only do it if I could be co-host. And I said, you got the job, right? So then we started this. 1 week later, we started it as a Zoom meeting, and we had over 100. We advertised it, and we had over 100 people. It was full. Boom, we had over 100.
That's
people.
Awesome.
We had no idea it would be this successful, and then it just took off. And we thought we were going to do it for maybe 2 or 3 months until this all blew over. But we're having so much fun doing it now. We got 5 people working on the show. Bob's out. But he's out in the audience, and he works. He works on that show. Yeah, he works on the show all the time. And so we have so much fun. We don't want to stop doing it. So 32. We do it every week for 32 weeks, 33 weeks, right? And so I don't know. That's where we are. So.
That's awesome. So I have to ask you, though, a question to that, because a lot of people are intrigued by this. Anybody can sit there and say, okay, yeah, we're going to start a community. We're going to start doing this. And you started out and you had 100 people. So you had to have some kind of resources to grab those 100 people too, though. They had to come from somewhere, I'm sure. I mean, you couldn't just put this out and all of a sudden you have 100 people. That's just not, people are like, oh my God, how does that work? It doesn't happen that way. So you have to have some sort of resources ahead of time, I'm sure, right? So talk about that a little bit.
So Hewie had, well, I'll let Hewie talk about it as well. But of course, in Mesa, Arizona, we have a large computer club that I'm heavily involved with. Mm-hmm. Plus, we have the East Valley Association of Computer Clubs, which I'm the president of, and that's all the computer clubs in the East Valley. So we had a big database of people that we could draw on.
Okay.
And then Hewie, Hewie has his, because he's in the Central Florida Computer Club, and he had his group. So we pooled the 2 databases and sent that out. Isn't that right, Hewie? Is that how we did it? Yeah.
Yeah, because I am a 4-time past president of the Central Florida Computer Society in Orlando. I'm a past vice president of the Florida Association of Computer Groups. And I was a director, and I think I was vice president too of the APCUG, which is the Association of PC User Groups, which is an international organization of user groups. Plus now I'm on the board at the Sarasota Technology User Group, which is another user group. So Ron and I both are speakers on a speaker bureau for APCUG. So we've touched base with a lot of user groups from around the country. So we're able to get the word out that way as well.
That's awesome. So, okay. So with that in mind, okay. So since you're talking about that, so are these paid for groups? These other groups that you're talking about?
They have a membership. Yeah. Some of them run $25 a year. Some of them are up to 40 or 50. Depends on what their expenses are.
Right.
And the Sarasota group was a little more expensive because they had to rent an auditorium and several rooms, because they still have over 300 members. But a lot of the groups now, because most of them are seniors, and by attrition, we've not gotten new people, because we all had to learn how to use a mouse. We didn't grow up.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. Okay, good stuff. I love it. Yeah, that's cool. And there's one thing I like. Oh, there we go. There's Mike from your group, right?
Yep.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Local user groups of the early 80s. That's true. Oh, Ontario Falls. There you go. There you go. Hilton Head. Hey, Miss Sheila. Yep. Hey, Ross, Australia. Nice to see you pop in. Okay, so so that's interesting. Okay, so we have that's kind of cool too, because I think but those computer groups, if I'm not mistaken, that's any age. That's just a computer group, right? I mean, anybody can join those computer groups.
They tend to be older. And, you know, most people under the age of 45, 50, they probably grew up with computers, and it's like, why would you want to be join some group that learns how to use radios or something? That's something really easy, right? So
that's good. That's the clarification I was trying to get. Yeah.
So most of the people in the groups that we talk to are, seniors, right? I mean, that's basically who they are.
So it's kind of easy for you guys to get the people you needed, right? I mean, or you were looking for your group. I mean, it just became easier that way, right?
And we still have an association with like Hewie and I with 𝐴𝐴𝐶𝐬𝐽, which is a national organization. So that we broadcast. So they broadcast out to all the computer groups that are members of that organization. So it's a network that we can plug into. And a lot of people are using Tech for Seniors, because remember, this year most of the computer clubs have shut down. Most of them are all, because you can't have physical meetings. And there are some that are doing virtual meetings, but most have just closed. So it's they're looking for other stuff that they can do, and they use Tech for Senior, of course, which is fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's great. And yours is not a paid for membership, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
That's
just
correct.
Just come and learn, right?
Yep.
So someone asked us that was a question last week. They asked us on the show, who are you guys? How much do we have to pay to belong to this? And I said, well, we hadn't really thought about that. I said, how much would you like to give us?
No, but I think that's...
You were fulfilling a service that you hadn't even realized was there. You just, like you said, driving home, realizing the isolation and feeling that there was going to be a need for that. And you took it and just fulfilled it, which is really cool. And obviously it was necessary, like you said, 100 to start with. And I think you had more than 100, didn't you? Didn't you have people who were turned away because the
first show we did, we had over 100. Like, we didn't know what we were doing. I told you earlier, we didn't know about Zoom. I mean, we didn't know idea what Zoom was.
Well, I'll talk.
Hey, Zoom didn't even know about Zoom back then. Remember, that was months ago. It seems like an eternity now, but
yeah, and we got Zoom bombed and all sorts of things, and we didn't. I mean, it's a learning experience, right? So now we do Zoom meetings all day, so we're really experts at it, but we didn't know when we started, so it's a learning experience.
Yeah, and I kind of brought a little of that with me to our team, because back in around 2011, Mike Ungerman, who was in the audience, he and I were at a Florida Association Computer User Group meeting, and we wanted to try to stream. This was in 2011, almost 9 years ago now. And we used something called, I think it was Stream TV or something like that. And there was a couple of them out there. And we set up a camera and a computer, and you could barely hear the people, but we could at least get them on camera. And we did have a couple of members of 𝐒𝐴𝐸𝐸. One was wheelchair bound in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he was able to stay home and see and listen to some of the presentations. And that was the first big thing that I got involved in. But when I moved from Orlando to Bradenton, it's about 120 miles away, I was doing a Windows Special Interest Group for, gosh, I think when it was still DOS. So I've been doing it a long time, and they didn't want me to stop because it was a pretty good draw for the club. And the meeting was always just before their general meeting or their main meeting where they brought speakers in. And so what we did is, I don't know that we used Zoom. Yeah, I think we did use Zoom right away, but it's been 6 years now that every second Sunday of the month, I do a Windows Special Interest Group for the Central Florida Computer Society.
That's awesome.
Have been doing it when they were meeting in a big room. They would just put it on a projector and put it on a screen, and then they'd ask questions from the audience. And so it was just a simple thing that when everything closed down, we just said, okay, we'll just open it up, all of the members, and we'll just open it up to anybody who wants to come. And
That's
so
awesome.
every second Sunday of the month, I do the Windows Special Interest Group. And I've got on my website, I think the notes going back to 2008. Yeah. And I think I've got 5 years of the monthly meetings on YouTube.
That's awesome.
Also, I'd like to say, Michael, it's important that everybody understand that there's 5 people that make the show up. There's Hewie and I, of course, which started it, but Bob Garcia, which is in the audience, is a security expert, and he's been with us since the third, I think probably the third, maybe he was there for the first, I don't remember, but for sure the third show, and he's been with us ever since, and he does his security update each week and also provides all sorts of content. And then we have now Ray Baxter, who's our musical director. So we have a musical director, and we finish with a musical. You know, people are singing and tapping their toes. It's not technology, but he comes up with some very interesting musical clip in the history of music or something like that. And we finish on that note. And then the 5th person is a fellow by the name of Dewey Kloos, who I know from our computer club. The problem is I've got Hewie and Dewey now. And so when I'm running the show,
you just need a Louie.
Dewey can't remember Dewey, and Dewey can't hear Hewie. So I'm always Hewieing and Deweying. So it's
he gets 2 answers to every question when he uses our name.
No, I get it. Trust me. And I was on the show when that was going on, and I'm going, oh wow. I could see how this could definitely be a problem. You had me on as a guest, and I actually had to, not had to, but I was experienced that. I was like, wow, this is really interesting. So yeah, that was fun. That was a good time. You guys have fun with it though. I think you guys, everybody's kind of laid back, just kind of listens and goes through and just, I mean, it's really nice. It's really nice what you do for people too. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Teach them stuff. It's a great place to learn stuff. Kind of the same thing, kind of the same premise of what our community is here with Tinkering with Tech, just trying to help people learn a little bit more about, you know, things that you can do and use. And you guys can take some of that back too. You know what I'm saying? You probably do. I mean, I don't know. Stuff you might learn here, you might take back there.
Well,
so
I know
that's what I like about that.
Ron and I found you at the same time. And we shared it, and I can't remember where. I think it was Jim and Chris Gould,
right?
Probably
where we found out about you. But you guys have cost me a lot of money because you have a lot of the toys, and then Ron and I now are doing the same thing. I just got this. Okay, well let me get that, and I can relate to that with several people who are in our audience. Mike Ungerman and I do the same thing, and there's a couple other people. And I think all this kind of techie hobby, a lot of us are hobbyists more than techies. And so when there's a new toy out there, we want to learn how to use it. And so we go buy it and play with it. And I got
Tinker with Tech. That's for darn sure.
That's
There's
what we do, yeah.
in this group. Yep.
And Ron and I think of this of the same thought processes. we have all this knowledge that we kind of accumulate just by trying and experiencing and testing and talking to other people and reading a lot. Both of us do. And what happens is we really enjoy sharing that information.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I think that's what I love the most about the two of you. I mean, today we're talking with two of our Tinkering with Tech members, with our Tinkering with Tech community. And these two are top notch when it comes to being able to share and being helpful and, you know, wanting, like you just said, Huey, wanting to share that knowledge that you've been accumulating for all these years. So it's wonderful that you do that and share with us. And I appreciate it myself.
Well, Jim and Chris Gould were really helpful when we started early on in the show, and I talked to Jim and Chris. I said, you know, first thing I knew I had to do is learn how to edit video. I mean, I never done that in my life, and I had to figure out what's the best program to use and all that sort of stuff. And I talked to them about it, and then I decided that I was going to use Camtasia. And then I think you were on the show. I think we maybe did a backstage pass or something on their show. And we met you, and you said, well, why don't you come over to your
learn a little bit.
And that was great because you helped us a lot get started with the with video editing. And you know, if you look at the videos that I edited, you know, for episode 1 and 2, and then those that I edited lately, I hope you notice that they got a lot better.
No, 100%. And that's a great point. That's a great thing too. I will say that there's a lot of software that's out there that's tough. I mean, it's tough to learn and accomplish and get all that stuff. But I will say, and you share a lot of those videos with me. I mean, you do. You'll send them to me, say, hey, look, see what I did here. See what I did with this. See what do you think? And what's nice is, and what I like about, and, you know, I love to teach, I love to show, I love to do all that kind of stuff, but I also like to learn. So for me, a lot of times it's you coming back and saying it, or I'll say, okay, what about, have you tried this? That's the nice thing that I like, you know what I'm saying? We can do a workshop together. We can come in, I can say, Ron, try this, or this is an option to get this to happen. Oh, look at there. 11:11. It is 11:11. Thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate you. Oh, yes. Remember those veterans. You're absolutely right. 100%. I have plenty of family with veterans in it, so I agree with you 100% there. Absolutely. And I believe Canada actually celebrates Veterans today too, don't they? Oh, there he is. Look.
Don't you see my coffee on?
He's wearing
there you go.
Coffee.
There you go. There you go.
That's why I'm wearing a shirt. That was my.
That's your shirt. Sure. Heather says her shirt. But seriously, that's the cool thing, and the thing that I absolutely love is that cross the community's venture and getting stuff from you guys. You know, that's Heather already mentioned it. You know, we're doing daily tips, and then we spend an hour afterward, after the tip's done, talking about, you guys bring stuff or you bring something up, and we talk about that kind of stuff. Now, on your show, when you guys do your Tech for Seniors, because let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more about the Tech for Seniors. Do you guys do you guys send out forms to them? How do you figure out topics? Do you just kind of come up with topics on your own, or do you have people that reach out to you, or do they come up and say, hey, look, I'd love to know about this? Just curious.
Huey and I meet on Sunday at 10 o'clock in the morning. So okay. we have a standard meeting that we meet with a Zoom meeting, and we meet at 10 o'clock and we decide what's going to happen. And so the meeting starts at 8:30, and we have a social.
That's your time now. That's your time.
Yeah. So the meeting starts, and so everyone can talk, and they all come in, and we lock the meeting at 9. So the meeting starts at 9, and we lock it because we don't want people coming in and out of the meeting in the middle of it. So at 9 o'clock the meeting starts. And I start with the introduction. There's a 7-minute little intro I do, introduce everybody and that sort of thing. And then Huey, and then Bob usually gives a talk on security. And then Huey does a 7-minute talk on some short topic, right? Like Starlink or something like that. And then I follow with like a 20-minute segment, which is teaching something, right? And then Huey does a 20-minute segment teaching something. Sometimes Bob adds stuff. But as the show has gone on, Bob is doing more work. Ray Baxter has done a bunch of stuff lately on teaching. And I haven't had to do anything. I just And I sort of on Sunday morning I say, look, I already got the day filled. You know, everybody's wants to do something, so we don't really have a lot to do. So it just sort of rolls on itself now.
Ron and I do a lot of reading of the blogs and
Gotcha.
and articles, and all week long. So there's always something new, something that comes up that it turns out to be a good topic, and then we'll put a little piece together and put it on.
Gotcha.
It's interesting that you say that, because there's like a little bit of research that kind of goes into making a show like what you guys do, don't you think? Like,
sure.
That's
and when we have 5 people sort of doing something, and you've only got 60 minutes, right? I send out an agenda, and it's timed down to the minute. Okay. So, and most of the stuff we do is recorded, so we know exactly how long it's going to take.
That's good,
because it's too complicated to show. We run too many cycles of different things. If we started to blab along and take forever, it wouldn't finish at the top of the hour, right? At 10 o'clock. We have to finish on time. And so it's really timed quite well. And everyone adheres to that, and it works great.
That's awesome.
So cool. That's so cool.
It is. It is. Do you find that, okay, so, I mean, okay, how can I put this? Do you find like you don't need the membership part? Because, you know, like Hewie said, you start spending all this money on different software and things like that and learning all this kind of stuff. Do you ever think about putting that into a membership type thing, or you just want to kind of, I mean, I know you're out there just helping, and I know that's the way you two guys are. I'm just asking because I know that a lot of people turn stuff into a money maker. And that's one thing I really appreciate in what you said earlier is that's not what your goal is. Your goal is just to help people that are just sitting there that can't do anything. I mean, so I just wanted to kind of bring it up.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I can speak for myself, but I really don't do it for the money. And, you know, if we did try to monetize it would get complicated. And I don't think anybody really, I can't speak for Hewie or anybody else, but we're not really interested in financially in the money. In fact, you know, there are some expenses that I just assume myself because I'm having the time of my life. I'm having lots of fun.
Good for you.
So it's like a holiday for me. So, but there's the website and some of the web stuff, and then there's all your stuff that you keep getting us to buy. So I mean, all the software that I got to buy.
In other words,
and then Hewie's buying stuff. Hewie's buying stuff, and he says, "Oh, Ron, you know what I got, and I got to get that, right?" So it ends up, you know. So what?
Good for you, because I mean, I think it's important with people like you guys out there. Hewie, I'll let you touch on that a little bit too, if you want.
Yeah,
but
and I think a lot of the people that come to us are seniors on set incomes, limited incomes,
right?
And whether they would be a part of it, some of them couldn't afford to, and they really, we don't want them to miss out on the technology and using it.
Thanks, Gil. That's awesome. Appreciate you, Gil.
Yes,
go ahead,
thanks, Gil. But I think a lot of them just are. It's also the camaraderie of user groups, and they're used to it. It's people, they're touching base with people, and people. And again, we didn't grow up with mice in our hands. We had to learn how to use them. Exactly. There weren't when we grew up, there weren't user groups on how to use a refrigerator. The kids the younger people aren't interested in computer groups. Because they're more into, they like the meetup ideas where you go, you have a cocktail or two at a restaurant, and you network. Well, these people don't need to network anymore. They're just striving to learn how to go from a flip phone to a smartphone.
That's wonderful. That's a great point.
Love this.
When you have 85 people, when you have 85 people in the morning and you sign on, when I open the show up and there's 85 people waiting to participate, that's a rush. That's priceless. That is priceless. There is no amount of money you can put on that. The fact that all the people are coming to listen to us is an honor and a privilege. And so I think it's so cool that it would be, I don't know what you'd ever charge for that. It would be impossible, right?
Well, and that's
what you just said. That is so cool. I love that. I love that.
And that's why I brought it up. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because what you're doing, I think, is a service that I think anybody can take advantage of. Seriously, if you want to just learn a little bit.
You don't even have to be somebody who didn't grow up with computers. I mean, some of us who didn't grow up with computers would really enjoy being a part of that. I'm just saying.
Right. Still learn. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the key. And that's why I wanted to, when I talked to Heather this week, I said, what are we going to talk about on the show, or what are we going to do on the show? And I said, why don't we bring you guys on? Because what you're doing is a really great thing, and maybe expose it out to people that watch this in replay or watch this later, or, couldn't come today, or in that kind of thing, and maybe learn and maybe come over and just join. So since I said that, how do people get in? How do people find out? Where do they go? How do they come watch your show? How do they become a part? Why don't y'all talk on that real quick?
Well, it's real easy. They go to our website called www.tech, TECH4 FOR Senior, SENIOR. No S on it, okay? The S was taken. When I bought the domain, I couldn't get Tech for Seniors.
That's the number 4, though, right? The number 4.
No, it's the
word for. Okay.
Senior, SENIOR.com. And just go to that site, and you'll see all the information and links, and the Zoom can, and you can also sign up for.
Is that right?
There's a newsletter. Yep, that's it. Tech for Senior.
Okay, good.
And then and then there's a newsletter there. Sign up for the newsletter, and we'll send you a newsletter twice a week. We update everything. We have a newsletter that goes out, and it has all the information. It's just a Zoom link that we give you, and then you can just log into the Zoom. It's just a Zoom meeting.
Now, if I can steal a little of that thunder, I also have a website, and it's Hewie.net, HEWIE.net. And again, in 1995, when I bought the domain, somebody in Toronto had the .com, so he's still using it too. But so it's Hewie.net, and then I have the Windows Special Interest Group. So it's /WinSig, but either place on that, there's a form there to sign up for my newsletter, and I send out the previous month and the next month's topics, some links, and how to get to me, and so on as well. So, and that's all free.
That Mark said he watched Huey's Zoom last weekend about Windows. Great stuff. So perfect timing on that plug.
There you go.
Yep.
But techforseniors.com, I think it's an awesome thing. I think anybody and anybody can join it. So I think it's a good idea for you guys. What the site spelling? Glad you put the site spelling.
Yeah, glad you did that, because those strange people overseas, they put news in the weirdest places.
Well, I maybe the Canadians do sometimes too, Ron, right?
You got it right.
Yeah, you got it right. Well, no, but that's wonderful. And anybody that wants to learn a little bit more about us, tinkeringwithtech.net, just go to that website. Learn about us here.
Hewie and Ron.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you get to meet those guys here live inside the backstage passes that we do in our community.
Say, we also have the backstage pass where they're going to be chatting with the members like they usually do, but this time it's all about them. So this is going to be kind of fun. I can't wait to hear more stories about how you guys got together and the we part of the Florida story. That's going to be in the backstage pass, Huey. You got to save that.
That's right. You got to save that for us. Okay. So we got to hear the backstage pass story. So anyway, thank you guys for coming on. We appreciate it. Seriously. I mean, we're always looking for stuff like this, and why not, when you can have our own community members come in and do that. And I knew you guys were doing a great thing, a great service for people. And your outlook is a lot like mine started out. I mean, for many, many years, I did a lot of stuff like this too, without the paid part. And decided to, a lot of my friends and things like that talked me into doing a paid structure and a paid thing. That's how I came up with the Tinkering with Tech. But I think it's also, but I try to make it as reasonable as possible too. I really do. The other thing is, to be
perfectly transparent, Michael, there's no way you're making a living off of anything that you're doing.
No, 100%. No, 100%. But at the same time, I knew what you guys were doing was pretty amazing and could help a lot of people out, and still can. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this COVID thing's not going away, but not only that, just the topic itself, tech for seniors, regardless COVID or not, I think that's an extremely important thing. And, you know, I actually talked to my mom. I said, Mom, this is something you just need to do. Join every Monday. You're not doing anything anyway. You know, you're retired. Go in there and just check it out. So, I mean, who knows? She might not. I don't know. But she's real nervous when it comes to tech. But that's one thing that I like that you guys do. You make it real simple. It's just a place where they can all meet and just ask their questions and just have some stuff. You know, it may not even apply. This, you know what I'm saying? This week's sessions might not even apply to anything that they might be doing, but you might hit on a week where it does. And it's just like, kind of like what Hewie was just saying. We always come up with something and there's always something going on. You're right. There is. And as long as they got a mobile phone, you know, or something, something's going to be going on.
We also started a second show now that's once a month. It's for learning Chromebooks. Both Ron, the one thing that brought Ron and I together is we were both, excuse me, speaking about Chromebooks for seniors. I even have a website called CB4S.net, and it's Chromebooks for seniors, because I live in a retirement community, and a lot of these people were getting so frustrated with Windows and all of the updates and all of the viruses and everything else. Then I said, well, if kindergarten kids can use and understand and know how to use Chromebooks,
they can teach seniors.
they could teach seniors, but it's also would be ideal for seniors who don't want to be bothered learning a bunch of crap they don't need to know.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point.
They want to turn it on and go do their Facebook and do their email and maybe play a couple of games, and they're done. They don't need to be, oh gosh, there's a new update. It's going to take 3 hours and it screws up my computer and everything has changed. And so Chromebooks were ideal for that. I bought one just to see what they were like, and I loved it. And so I became an advocate for them. And I do presentations on Chromebooks, and so does Ron. We both just think that they're ideal for seniors. And so there's just a lot of things for people who don't want the technology where they can still use it.
Exactly. Yep. 100%. Well, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Oh, look at there. Andrew.
Wow.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you, buddy.
Wow.
That was very nice for all I do. Thank you so much. Well, Andrew, you do quite a bit too. I mean, there's a lot of stuff he does as well, but listen, thank you guys. Thank you so much. I want to wrap this up so we can have a little bit of time for the backstage pass so you guys can chat with us. You've been there before. You know how to get there.
Yeah. We just do it in the normal way.
Yeah, just normal way. Just go in just normally. But thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. Heather, as always, good to see you, and thank you. And folks, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much, and have a good one. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Tom.
You bet. You bet.